Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast do not reflect the views or opinions of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Make sure you like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please rate this podcast 5 stars where applicable and leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
And welcome back, everybody. Episode 31. Kristen's not going to be with us tonight because she's too busy getting art placed in locations that we'll not discuss. But maybe she will when she comes back. Anyway, how you doing today, Josh?
Well, I'm doing great. Another day in paradise. Realized looking at the count when the timesheet went up yesterday morning that I got the end of this pay period. I have a long weekend to go to a convention. I'll be at a convention that weekend, so that'll be nice. Yeah, as you were saying about Kristen, she obviously has to reassess her priorities, or maybe unfortunately she did.
Yeah, she planned this out for a while, so I'm glad she's actually getting time away from work and time away from this podcast to do some things that she actually enjoys. Although I'm sure afterwards she's probably going to want a longer vacation because we all know that a vacation is never long enough.
1.5 times is what you actually need.
Yeah.
You take a day, you need a day and a half. You take a week, you need a week and a half. No matter what you actually take, you need 50% more.
I know. And unfortunately, even if you had that 1.5% or times, you'd still want more than that. So eventually you'd end up taking a whole year off.
Well, then you would need a year and a half.
Yeah. And then you'd need 3 years.
Yep.
All right. Well, for me, it was actually a pretty good week. I did my normal routine at work. Unfortunately, it was almost 2 straight weeks of box holders. Thursday ended up being the last day of box holders. Friday, we didn't have any, but it was heavy packages because unfortunately on Wednesday, our Amazon got delivered to the wrong office and they didn't deliver it until Friday to our office.
Oh
So
God.
went from the box holders to heavy packages on Friday. And, but other than that, just trying to check up on things and look at other stuff. How about you, Bill?
Oh, I had a relatively quiet week. It was surprisingly light during the post Amazon Prime days. Then yesterday was my drop day, and today is of course Amazon Sunday, and all hell broke loose. They had 2 tractor trailer loads show up yesterday. And today we're just running parcels. They had 1 tractor trailer load, and they were short 3 rural carriers that could have assisted because the 4 that showed up were averaging 225 parcels each. And on a W route, that takes you all over God's creation trying to get those things delivered. And with the showers that we had today, it couldn't have been any fun whatsoever. So I was blessed because Amazon Prime missed me, but everybody else paid for it.
I hear that.
Now, parcels were heavier, but it wasn't like, oh my God, what's going on? But I had a lot of big ones. Like there was more Friday and Saturday. I wasn't sure if I was going to get the back door of the truck closed. And that's with the one parcel was barely far enough in, and it was up to the front at my knees is how long it was. I just deviated and went to that neighborhood first to get rid of those 2 huge ones Saturday, and then went back and did the rest of the route, so I had actually room in the truck, so I wasn't feeling so claustrophobic.
Well, I saw on
Definitely.
social media some of these carriers posting pictures, and God love you for being able to do that. I mean, 3 hampers and a knocker, and that didn't even include the mail. One office was reporting almost 40,000 parcels there. I mean, it's a large rural carrier office, but even still, folks, I mean, this is a logistical nightmare for everybody. And I just like, we have Amazon delivery in our area. Plus, we have some of the people that come around in their personal vehicles delivering smaller parcels and all. And we got hit hard Saturday and Sunday. But some of these other offices with no Amazon delivery, they got annihilated. And God bless you for, working in this heat and getting that job done.
Yeah, we got to applaud you guys for getting that stuff done. Our hearts go out to you for it, as much work as you're doing. But we all hope and pray that supposedly this is going to increase your route evaluation come August, the end of August, when they do the new count. So we're hoping that all this extra work that you're doing will pay off. I mean, you could tell just because management's getting upset at people doing the extra scans. But even so, with the package volumes that we've been getting, especially with Amazon and Temu and all those other companies that are now shipping all their stuff through us, and a lot of them getting scared of UPS going on strike since they voted to strike and almost unanimously voted to strike. But that's on them. We're going to focus on rural carriers here. Now, I have to preface this. There is a lot of talk out there online of things going on with the union, things going on with the Postal Service and things like that. And we put this show on just for rural carriers to have a place to talk about rural carrier things, talk about work conditions, talk about benefits, talk about our wages, things like that, and bring them to the forefront of the community. And one of those biggest issues that we have right now facing our carriers is the overwhelming volume that we're getting in the hottest times in almost recorded history. And that is a big, big thing we're dealing with. We have carriers that are dying from the heat out there. From ADA Arbitration talked about this a couple of weeks ago. He talked about the carrier who died in Texas, who was his brethren city carrier. And
36 years on the job.
he is our brother too. He is our brother in arms because he's doing the same job we're doing, just under a different craft. But we need to watch out for each other. We need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. We talked about this last week, hydrating, taking care of yourself, starting the night before, drinking fluids. But there's a bigger issue at play here.
I would also suggest bringing in your cooler bag, like the waters that you pack, put a couple of rags or cloths. That way you can have one around your neck and the other one still sitting in the ice pack, staying cool. That way, when the one around your neck is no longer cold, you can swap them out. It'll help keep your temperature down. Wear a hat, because the heat escapes from your head.
Yeah, instead of wearing a hat, wear a visor. If you need the sunblock from the brim of a hat, wear a visor instead of a full coverage hat, because that'll allow the heat to escape out the top. Now, if you shave your head bald, you might want to put some suntan lotion up on there and some sunblock. Protect yourself.
Every morning.
Sunburns are bad. Sunburns are bad, and they're bad for your health too. Can cause skin cancer.
Yep. Almost every day, just before I get in the truck, I've got 100 SPF. I spray myself down.
I have a can of spray suntan block that I have in my car. I take it out with me when I go to the route. I put it back in my car when I go home, because it's with me everywhere. Because if I'm out walking the dog, gotta have some sunblock on.
and whatever, folks.
Yeah.
If management gives you any grief whatsoever about stopping, getting out of the truck, don't sit in the truck if you have to rehydrate or cool down. Get out of that damn truck, okay? And management gives you any grief about it, you file safety on them, okay? You are entitled to do your job in safe conditions. And if you're feeling overheated or stressed, get out of the vehicle, make sure you curb your wheels, turn it off, put the brake on and everything else, take the key out of the ignition, but get out of that vehicle, cool yourself down, and go back when you feel you've rehydrated yourself or feel stable enough to continue your duties.
Yeah.
Preferably in a shady area.
And
Well,
I'm going to say
anywhere.
this. I posted a video into our Facebook group from the NALC. It's not from our union. It's not from management. It's from the NALC, and it would be a good video for rural carriers to watch because there are managers that are using scanner data to harass carriers. And I'm going to use the word harass because they aren't actually verifying that that's what's going on. They're getting people for stationary events when they're at a CBU working a CBU. They're getting people for stationary events when they're inside of a building delivering stuff to like a school or a business, things like that. Or they're getting stationary events when they're actually moving, when they're actually driving down the road and the scanner's not picking up new GPS locations. And if management is harassing you on this, what do we do, Bill?
File. And then get some more paper and file again.
Well, first off, I would talk with your designated union rep.
No. I file right off the bat. The hell with that. Let's skip over this. Well, no. First you talk to your supervisor about it. Then you talk to your designated local rep.
I know you, Bill, would file at every turn. I know. You're one of those. You're one of those dogs that has a big bite. You know, and there are a lot of carriers that are afraid to step up and do this kind of thing. But if you talk with your designated union rep, talk with your local steward, talk with your area rep, talk with your district rep that this is going on, they're supposed to help you with this. They're supposed to step up and say, yeah, that's not right. We'll help you with this. We'll tell you, we'll even help you with how to fill out a grievance form and stuff like that. We'll even sit in and talk with you while you have your discussion with management. That's what they're supposed to be doing. So talk with your designated union rep if that's happening, because they should not be harassing you for trying to keep yourself alive, most of all. Because like Josh, what do you tell him every time we end the show? Go home to your families?
No, I say that. Josh says step back, take a breath. Yeah. I say that. I don't care if you don't have a job at the end of the day. Go home to your family, okay?
Exactly.
Here's a guy that didn't update information, and you know they couldn't find out where he was or anything. He ended up dying on his own. I mean, go home to your family. Don't let this job kill you.
Yeah, and then there's the other side of it that they talked about on From A to Arbitration. Great podcast, by the way. Even though we're rural carriers, it is a great source of information on what's going on at the post office to city carriers. And you know, if it's happening to city carriers, it's going to happen to rural carriers. So I would highly recommend listening to From A to Arbitration about this. But From A to Arbitration was talking about the carrier that passed away supposedly did all this heat training on his Hero, which is a training site on the Postal Service. If you go into your Light Blue account, go to your Hero profile, go to your assignments and check completed, See what ones are completed for you. See if management is inputting trainings that you may not have known or may not remember, and talk with your manager about them. It's important
Or may not
that
have
you
been
check
there
them.
for them.
Or you may not have been there for them. You
Yeah.
may have been off that day and they input that you had training that day. Check into it. Make sure it's correct. If it's not, let somebody know, like your designated union rep.
It's a job.
But
That's all it is, folks. It may be a career for some at this point. It may be, something that puts, food on the table, but it's just a job. It's not worth your life. Not any of you. I don't know you. You don't know me, but it's not worth a single life.
at the end of the day, right now, a lot of people can actually go and get jobs at less stressful locations for almost the same pay.
Or we can go work at UPS.
Yeah, once they're done with their strike.
Yeah. They're going to have a lot of applications at that new pay rate.
Yeah. So, but that's the biggest thing here, folks, is we want you to be safe. We want you to understand that at the end of the day, the biggest thing we put here on this podcast is to help every rural carrier out there. It doesn't matter who's the leadership at the top. We don't care who's running the union. What we care about is what the union is doing as a whole, which is every single carrier, dues paying and non-dues paying. They could have anybody in that office, and the only ones up in the office I'd be proud of are the ones that are thinking about every single person that's out here delivering every single letter every day. I don't care if their name is Joe Blow, John Green, or whatever, as long as their passion is to take care of the people who put them in that position. And that is every single rural carrier working.
And that's what they're paid to do.
Exactly. And this podcast is designed to help benefit every single rural carrier. We want you to know that there are things out there that aren't really talked about ad nauseum, but we're going to sit here and do it with a lot of oral diarrhea.
I'll say that was an awfully big word you used there.
Well, yeah, I do the oral diarrhea really well, apparently, at least according to the question that was asked at Mid-States.
I meant the nauseum word.
Ad nauseum, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
That's
I
actually
usually cause nausea when I talk too much. But that comes with the oral diarrhea.
Well, you're true.
But at the end
Yeah,
of the
but
day, the biggest thing we want to talk about is what's occurring to rural carriers out there right now, right?
correct.
So
And the
some
biggest
people,
the biggest problem we have right now still is management. The abuse,
man,
the threats, the uneducated supervisors, the even less than educated postmasters, and the just rock solid dumb district people who come up with rules and regulations that aren't in the contract. And
yep.
if I can say anything, ladies and gentlemen, get the contract, know the contract, use it against them. It's the worst thing they hate is an educated carrier. That's the biggest threat.
I found in the last couple of years, they are not a fan of when you use their rules against them.
Yes.
Nope.
They don't like
And,
that so much. I don't know why.
and you know what the second biggest threat to management is? A carrier who's learned all this stuff and decides to step up and be a local steward.
Well, I thought the answer was me.
That's in your office. You're the biggest threat to management. I'm honest. The biggest threat to management, the biggest threat to management, the biggest threat to management is every single carrier in the office knowing the ins and outs of their job. The second biggest threat is that office having a union representative in office that supports the carriers who know all the rules and regulations, responsibilities that they have to do. But it starts with carriers that know what their job is, what the rules are, what the policies and procedures are, your PO 603, your rural contract, all that stuff. If you know every single thing about your job, number one, it's going to make your job a heck of a lot easier. And number two, it's going to keep management guessing, because they're going to try and tell you to do things and you're going to be like, well, that's against this and this. Well, I gave you a direct order. Good. Give me that in writing, signed and round dated, and I'll do it. But then you'll have a grievance. Because every time a management gives you a direct order, you want it in writing. Otherwise, it's not a direct order. You want it signed and round dated because you want them to put their name behind it. If you're not willing to put your name behind it, it's not a direct order. And then grieve it after you do it, because our contract states you must follow a direct order. Then you can grieve it.
Yep. And like James was saying, James and Bill were saying, educate yourself. I'll admit, I don't know everything, but I do know where to look or who to ask that can point me in the right direction.
One of the little tricks I use in my office, especially if I'm not in there on that particular day, and somebody management basically is haranguing a carrier, I tell everybody to step back, grab the carrier next to them, left or right, and have them witness the conversation. Do you know how fast management shuts up once they have a witness standing there? It ends real quick. They don't want anybody verifying what they've said in regards to following the contract. And it works like a charm.
And even that, there was the episode from A to Arbitration about a rollaway runaway, where they had a FFV that rolled away, and one of the shop stewards went out there and verified that the truck was the cause of the rollaway runaway. Like literally, the person had the parking brake up, the shifter in park, and the only thing they didn't do was cock the wheels. But management turned around with VMF, according to From A to Arbitration, and basically said the truck was in perfect working order. Returned the truck to the office, and Corey from A to Arbitration went out and tested the truck, and it failed the exact same way with him behind the wheel. And then they turned around and said, oh, it's okay, it's okay. And then he had the guy from VMF come out and showed him the thing, and VMF agreed to what he showed him, and then turned around and wrote a report saying that it was functioning fine, but they broke it when they were testing it. Management will lie, and they will do it just to undermine a carrier.
Like Marie says, management would rather climb a tree to tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth.
That's a new one.
That's what he said on the podcast. That's why we listen to him. That's why we listen to him. He has a lot of good information from the city side that can benefit the rural side. The other side of this is, it's just more proof that our mutual enemy between the city craft and the rural craft is management. Management is the problem, and we have the solutions to take care of that. Now, let's get on to these disputes that we've been seeing popping up on Facebook. Have you seen that one that got posted? The dispute that
Which,
came back and they disputed that they had lack of training is why their evaluation went down and they got the dispute back.
and
Yeah,
dispute.
it was
Yeah, it was written as
basically,
it was written as dismissed because of the fact that the union had the training up on their site since April of 2022. Now, that is not saying our upper level union leadership said to do that, because these went to district reps. They didn't go all the way up to national, they went to district.
well, and
And
if district was not able to sustain them, depending on what it was, they would then get pushed to area.
yeah, but the thing about it is, I don't even trust that that came back from the union.
Well, I can tell you, my district rep, you know, said if you have documentation showing what your dispute is, labor was going to agree to it and give you credit. If it was something just that I wasn't trained properly with no substance to it, there's really not much they can do.
Even though the union agrees that nobody got trained on it.
Well, that's they need to pursue that in a different matter. But as
But
a dispute,
And this is a problem here because of the fact that management dismisses it, pointing to the union website as the training mechanism, whereas the agreement was management, postal management
is
would do.
responsible for all training.
Yes.
yeah,
So therefore, this should have been pushed up to area. This should have been pushed up to national, because of the fact that they're violating their own language. Again, use their language against them.
Right.
yeah.
And hopefully a grievance will come of it.
Hopefully that person who got that dispute back immediately filed a grievance with their local
Hopefully.
union representative.
Who was the person sitting with labor discussing that dispute?
I didn't see a signature on there from a union rep.
Yeah.
Well, I know
And it
it's
wouldn't be
the
the local
district rep
either.
or designee and district labor or designee.
So, but this just also again proves all the time that management's going to find a way to lie about things. You can sit there and try and say that hey, management's awesome. I've got a great manager. I've got a great postmaster in my office. But I can tell you right now that if it was her job or mine, she definitely would protect her job. Anybody in those positions is going to protect their ass over protecting yours, even if you're in the right. Like Fermata Arbitration said, they'd rather climb a tree to lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth.
And if anybody hasn't noticed, and in my office particularly, we had all but 2 routes go up, and I'm talking about going up 4 hours plus. So now management in our district is nitpicking on everything. They're questioning everything. Your dismounts, and how many trips you make, authorized dismounts, your unscanned parcels, your WSS. They want you to bring them a copy. And like I explained to him, I said, we're not paid to walk across the floor to find you. You know, you either take our word or you verify it before it gets to our case. But either way, I'm having the carriers put it in their 4240s. You know, if they get in WSS, write down one WSS. If you want to put the title of the publication, do so. You're not required to, and you're not required to put the WSS on your 4240. But as a measure of protecting you when they question you, you know, it would be beneficial for you to do so. But folks, let me tell you, I'm not going to have people digging through tubs that prove the management what they had and didn't have. That's on management, not us.
Yep, like Bill said, I turn around and on my 4240, I just put FBH or FWSS or LBH, LWSS for flash box holder, flash WSS, letter box holder, letter WSS. And I saw a sheet on several of the rural carrier pages from a manager that delivered it to the carriers that actually said WSH is part of the WSS. And there are still some stations that are saying that WSH is not part of WSS. So that is definitely a carrier discretion scan. Follow what you're told to do, because if you don't, it's disregarding a direct order and they can discipline you for that. Get it in writing. Have them print out the management sheet that says that it's not WSS. Get proof. Prove it to me. It's that simple.
And another point for carrier discretion is when you're getting a token amount of WSS in your tubs from the clerk mail, and you make that entry. Again, carrier discretion. But if it's WSS, that's a full saturation, folks.
And don't, if it's in your DPS, supposedly it's already counted and it should be credited to your route. And I'm going to say this, my route had 92% coverage factor because I was inputting my WSS all the time and my box holders. But there were a couple of weeks where I had 3 or 4 days of just letters WSS in my DPS. And I'm assuming it counted towards that because of how high my volume factor was, my coverage percentage. But we don't know for sure. But
you're getting
they say that it's
if
counted.
it's in the DPS, supposedly you're getting a piece count.
Correct.
Yes,
And
you're getting a piece count and coverage factor for each box.
If it is true WSS, you have one for every address, which means showing up on informed delivery and or you're stopping at every box.
Yes.
Now I have a question for my co-host because this came up this week and I've never seen it. It was a oversized postcard. It was to every address, almost, and it said WS. No H, no second S, just WS.
Did it have addresses on it?
No.
No addresses, so it's a
So
walk sequence unsorted.
Yep.
I would still input it. I personally, as a carrier discretion on my part, I would have personally input it as a box holder with no address. Personally.
Well,
if it wasn't,
that's what I recommended, but I also added carrier discretion.
Yes. And since you said it was an oversized postcard, I'm going to assume it wasn't letter size, and therefore it was a flat box holder.
Well, yeah. Now I'm still waiting for the ruling on that in regards to the address orientation on it, which is now disallowed. Maybe it's not disallowed. The 603 hasn't changed. It's going to be changed. You know, there's so many things up in the air right now. I mean, you know, no matter where you shoot, you can hit something.
Well, when I asked the director of labor relations, she said they were working with management on figuring it out. I asked
What
that
are
at the Michigan State Convention.
what are they doing for the
Like
last
the
11 years?
orientation.
They're just
What
figuring out
orientation?
what's an unscanned parcel and what's not. When it comes to the flat versus letterbox holder, she said it's carrier discretion. She
Yeah.
actually said carrier discretion.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
she used
talking.
our own line.
Now, did you get a residual fee for that?
I thought about it, but hadn't discussed that with you guys of whether we should have trademarked that or not. I mean,
So
that would be a
if we
great
say
moneymaker
TM
for that
now,
one.
if we say
What?
TM now, does that count?
Actually,
Can you
because of
discuss the
how
TM?
I want this podcast to be, and I want carriers actually standing out there and helping other carriers and telling them, hey, it's carrier discretion. I kind of don't want to do that so that regular people don't get fined for it.
Well, we could start with the merchandise line of United We Scan, and on the back have carrier discretion with a small description, oral diarrhea with a small description.
The definition. And
And don't forget,
supposedly,
supposedly.
Yes. I mean, what the hell? You want to make some money?
Yeah. Since we're doing this for entertainment purposes only.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway that you guys need to do here is take care of yourself, learn your craft, make sure your ducks are in a row. Make sure your trainings that you've actually done are recorded and the ones you haven't done aren't recorded. Especially if you weren't there that day. Because the city side is dealing with that right now. And you can listen to that on From A to Arbitration. And if it's happening to the city side, it's probably happening to the rural side. And I know we've been pushing From A to Arbitration on here, but when you have somebody who's as passionate about the city side as we are about the rural side,
It's
you
worth
can
a
understand
listen.
where it's worth a listen. And if you're not into listening about issues at work, we'll just plug the Attempted Delivery podcast about
there
rural
you go.
carriers trying to break it out as comedians. Really good podcast
Yep.
there as well. Love that stuff.
And next week, both Sean and Damien made it to round 2. The 27th, I think, is when round 2 is. So we wish them both luck
Definitely.
on that to getting to round 3. I'm not sure how many make it to round 3 of the ones that got to 2. I think it was supposed to be 15 participants each night of the 4 nights they did round 1, 6 of which moved to round 2. So that's what, 6, 12, 24 are going to round 2. So they'll probably split them 12 and 12. And then from there, we'll see how that, how they do come, their episode after that.
And ladies and gentlemen, in regards to listening to A to Arbitration, listening to our podcast and all, do me a favor, learn to step up and speak out. If you see something wrong in the office, step up, speak out, question, challenge. Even if you're wrong about it, doesn't mean that your question or your challenge is invalid. It's just you want clarification. You want some clarity and understanding of what they're ordering you to do or telling you to do. It doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean they're wrong, but you are entitled to be explained to what they're doing, how they're doing, why they're doing. Don't take it for granted just because they're in management, they know what they're talking about. Because I'll guarantee you, a good 90% of them have no idea, and they're just repeating stuff they've heard from above.
And then an email.
Or a telecom,
Yep.
I mean, if I could outlaw anything, it would be the telecoms, because they all have to get off the floor at a certain time, and usually it's when things are going to hell in the handbasket real quick.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
usually
don't know
about
everybody's
the
about
in
where
their
you
final.
guys
office.
area is. But now they
usually
have
about the
to, they
time
do the
carriers are
telecoms
going
on
out.
Zoom and they have to have their camera on.
Yeah, they have to actually look like they're paying attention to the screen, even though they're playing a game of solitaire or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can see what I'm doing now?
Put that in that briefcase. Yep.
Thankfully,
And the
no.
worst part is a lot of the times those telecoms are going on when carriers are loading up to leave for their routes. And these telecoms just interrupt everything. And I think half the time it's just the district managers want to hear themselves talk, but that's just me. At least considering the telecoms I've heard.
I think you'd be right on about 98% of the telecoms, because I know several supervisors and people who are in management sit there and just shake their head, walk around with a dazed look on their face. I said, what are you doing in there? Oh, we're on a telecom. I says, why aren't you at the computer? It's just because it's the same thing every day.
It's complaining about this craft or the other craft. It's about these numbers or those numbers that need to get down, things like that.
Yep. What they're doing wrong
And that's the
and
big
why.
thing is there's some reports out there. I have yet to figure out where to find it online on the systems at the office. But there are some postmasters that are able to tell what your evaluation's getting up to already. It doesn't mean they're going to apply it now, but supposedly there's a way to find out if your route's going up or not. Have you guys heard anything about that? The being able to see your route evaluations from management?
I have not, other than people saying they've overheard it on the telecoms. But I would presume that it would be the same as the projection tool they use for 2080. But it's just taking, on an average, what you've done, presuming you're maintaining that same average on a daily, weekly basis. This is what you'll end up. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I've heard of that, but how do we find that? Do you know?
I don't know. That might be something like the portable 3s, for example, are open now, but only to district level. So that might be district level and up that only has access to see that. Your local management might not have access. That I don't know. I can try and inquire about it, but I'm not going to promise anything.
Okay. Because I've not heard how to see it, but if anybody does know, please post it in the group on Facebook or let us know in messages here if you actually have seen it, if you're listening to us right now. But I've heard a lot of people have been saying that you can see that stuff now. And we had a question about
Comment. Dress code.
dress code. And I'm looking at all the stuff going on, and the only thing I can say is there have been rulings, pre-arbitration rulings, that postal management at the local level will be responsible for determining the appropriate standard of appearance. However, local postal management will be reasonable and rational in determining that appropriate standard of appearance. Now, the question posed in the chat was about a dress code and tank tops having straps that have to be 3 inches wide, and they can send them home for that. So the biggest takeaway I can give is a neat appearance is one of the biggest.
The only thing that's set in stone is shoes are supposed to be leather or leather-like with a non-slip tread.
Yeah. And I'm going to just say this. You should wear what's neat and comfortable for the weather conditions that are occurring. Even though we don't have a uniform, we should be dressed in a at least decent manner. And this goes for both women and men. I have absolutely no problem with what people wear as long as it's professional and neat. So if you want to wear a tank top, that's fine. But I don't think it's appropriate to wear something that shows excessive skin. And that goes for guys too. I'm not just saying one side or the other. Because we are delivering, not only are we delivering letters and flats, we're delivering personal items, we're delivering family members on their last ride, things like that. So think about how, even in the heat, how you'd want somebody to approach your house carrying your loved one on their last ride. That being said, there is no fully set dress code for rural that literally says this is what you can and cannot wear. But be reasonable.
Well, you want to have a funny. We have a female carrier that wears a strap top in the summertime. Of course, it's less than 1 inch thick, and the supervisor said something about it. And I said, well, okay, if you're going to send her home, then go over to Elliot's route and measure his straps, because I don't think those are 3 inches wide.
Exactly.
And they said, well, we can't send 2 carriers home. I said, you either send 2 carriers home or you send none home. Plain and simple. Yes. The rules have to be fair and equitable.
I don't think you're going to find many tank tops that have 3-inch straps on them unless they're a t-shirt, sleeveless t-shirt.
Right.
Because think about how big 3 inches is. Now, guys, I know. Guys, I know.
Don't go down the rabbit hole.
But 3 inches is 3 inches no matter what type of ruler you use. It's funny because I have one of my safety vests here that I wear for directing traffic. And the top straps that go over the shoulder are 2 3/4 inches. It's a safety vest that I'm supposed to wear to protect me in traffic, and it's 2 3/4 inches wide. And that covers more than almost every tank top I own. So.
Well, you're not allowed to wear it to work anymore.
I guess I can't wear my safety vest anymore.
Not to work.
Yeah. But we have.
Oh my God! Did you see that one?
Oh my God! I just saw that. One of our friends is still delivering Amazon, coming up on 12 hours. Ouch. Ouch.
But
and that's the other thing. If you're delivering Amazon Sunday, you should not work more than 12 hours. Our contract states that 12 hours is the maximum for hourly employees. But management will do what management will do.
And then comes September, or the end of August and September, they're going to be screaming bloody murder about 2080 hours, 2240.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, especially with all these carriers that routes got completely gutted, even though the route's still technically a K route, and they're down to an H route.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They'll be screaming 4240, 40, or 2080, 2080, 2080. I'll be like, adjust my 4240 to make it right. Give me back to my Saturdays or Saturdays or Mondays off. Give me back to my one day during the week off if you're in a formula office.
Hire more subs.
Hire more subs. Yeah.
Take it out yourself.
Get to work. Get to work, start slinging mail. You decided to be a manager. Guess what? Sometimes the manager has to work the front counter. Sometimes the manager has to flip burgers.
No.
But seriously, folks, the biggest takeaway you can have, and we're gonna wrap this up here real soon. Oh, that's a really good question. When did the Rex software get put into place?
Technically, it was supposed to be skewed into the system 2015, but there were some problems. And even though we were a test office in Westchester, we didn't get any type of information until 2017 into 2018. That's when we were able to see any type of data coming out of there, was 2018.
And even then, it was screwed up.
Oh God! And to this day, it's still screwed up.
It's getting better. Slowly but surely, it's going to get better. And I know a lot of people are like, Rex sucks, Rex
Supposedly.
this, Rex that. But I do unfortunately have to say that overall, over everything, the concept and the program could be successful if management would get their grubby hands off of it. If management stopped messing around and just gave us the program the way it was supposed to be, the way the engineers designed it, the way that management and the union agreed on in the first place, it wouldn't be this crap show that we're having right now.
And if the union stood by the letter of the law in regards to total transparency, we wouldn't have this problem either.
Yes,
Because
if the union would have stood up and said, no, we need this to be accurate and fair to the carriers.
Yep.
And the carriers need to be trained by management per our contract, have a classroom training. I don't care if you turned around and each day took one carrier into a room and trained them individually until every route in your office was trained, and had a sub that just floated from route to route every day covering those routes until you had every carrier trained. You could have had this done. It doesn't matter if you're in a 1 route office or a 300 route office. You could have gotten it done. Management could have stepped up and done the right thing. But does management do the right thing? Bill?
Hell no.
And Josh, your thought? Does management do the right thing?
Supposedly. Allegedly.
Supposedly? Management
Allegedly.
does the right thing supposedly? Allegedly? Oh boy, we're going to have to make you a 204B now.
They'll tell you so themselves.
That's because their management told you to tell you that.
They'll tell you it's in the contract that you're not allowed to take any breaks, or you have to take a minimum of 10-minute breaks every day, and
Don't forget you have to take a lunch.
the contract. No.
Yeah, you have to take a lunch. Wrong.
You were entitled to up to 30 minutes of off the clock break time.
No, but you have to put down your toilet breaks. And
nope.
Now I will say this: you do have to put down your smoke breaks.
You're working.
Are you smoking while casing?
No.
we used to.
Yeah.
Used to. I know. I
I'm
know. My
sure
neighbor
she
across the street from me. My neighbor across the street from me used to be a rural carrier, and I actually went to the post office with her one day to see what it was about when I was younger, when I was a kid, and those were different times,
there
long
was an
before the
ashtray
royal
built
Oak.
into the case.
There was an ashtray built into the case. Yep. She didn't
Yep.
smoke, but there was one in her case. But no, if you're going out to the dock to smoke a cigarette, take a break from casing, taking a step back and taking a breath, well, a few breaths with your cigarette, you should punch out for that. You should go out to lunch and return to lunch. Take 3 10-minute breaks at your 30-minute of breaks, plus that gives you 6 extra scans. 6 extra inputs. Of course, management is going to complain that you're putting in all these inputs. You're like, I was on break. I was taking a smoke break. Or I was sitting down and drinking water while I was cooling off. It's another reason you could do it. But those are 6 extra inputs that go on your evaluation.
Or you do a break like I do and bring in a cooler full of Gatorades and ice because we had no water at our office.
Do you have a water fountain?
Yeah, you don't want to drink the water.
Isn't that a safety issue then?
Our water in our office is a little worse than Flint, Michigan.
Just a little
No,
worse.
that's bad.
Just a little, yeah.
But then
Well,
again, just as bad as Flint is, if you say it's just a little worse, that's very, very bad water.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, we have one water fountain for over 100+ employees. I'm sure we're all going to stand in line and clock off to fill our water bottles. I did like the girl that complained that the ice machine at their office was broken, and I'm sitting there going, "Ice machine? You have an
What's
ice
an ice
machine?"
An
I
ice
got
machine in a post office?
I got offices don't even have a swing room.
Heck, I know of an office that their break room is right next to one of the cases. It's literally just a table tucked up against the case. That's their break
There
room.
you go. You have a break room. Yeah,
That too.
it almost turned into a UFC corner one day. That's a story for her off the channel, though. And yes, I was involved.
Hmm.
Surprise, surprise.
So we're gonna wind this down now because we're going past an hour already, and we don't want to go to 2 hours like most of our previous ones have gone.
You know, they
But
were nice and short and sweet until that new guy joined us.
yeah, that new guy really makes them long, doesn't he? Oh wait, that's me. But Bill, what's your final
Yes, sir.
thoughts? What's your
My
final
final
thoughts?
thought. So I would have to say that my final thoughts is that, folks, we do this on our own time of our own free will. We're trying to help everybody out, whether you're a union, non-union. We don't want to see anybody trampled by management. We don't want anybody be harassed or feeling stressed. We sure to hell don't want people getting to the point where they make poor decisions because of this job. Josh will tell you, when you get overwhelmed, step back, take a breath, step in. If it gets to that point, folks, step back, take a breath, and walk away. It's not worth your life. It's not worth your health. It's not worth your family. It's just a job, okay? It may pay better than other jobs. It may fit your schedule better than other jobs, but folks, you have so much more important things in life than a job, okay? We got another hot week coming up. High heat, high humidity. Amazon is still overflowing. And I just want you all to take care of yourselves. And at the end of the day, like I always tell you, get yourself home. You're the most important delivery of the day. Get home to the loved ones. That's the only thing that matters.
Josh?
Like Bill was saying, don't let yourself get that worked up. Don't get overheated. Do what you can to prevent yourself from getting overheated. Stay hydrated. I know they used to say a gallon a day, but I've also more recently someone said you're supposed to consume 1 ounce per your weight of water. Like I said in the beginning, get cool cloths, rags, towels. Keep one in your ice pack, in your cooler bag, one around your neck, and then swap them out every so often. Don't get overwhelmed. If you do, step back, take a deep breath, step back in. Try and have a good week. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, like both Bill and Josh said, the biggest takeaway from everything here is care about yourself. Take care of yourself first and foremost. There's only one of you. There's millions and millions of people in the world, in the United States alone. There's billions of people in the world. And you're one single person, but you're an important person. You're an important person in the rural craft, dues paying or non-dues paying. You are brothers and sisters. We don't want to see anything happen to you. We want to see you work all the way through retirement and enjoy your retirement. We want to see you being able to be involved in the union, helping to make this union better, stepping up, being a local steward, putting in to be an area steward, going on and working in your local county or state or even on the national board. We need everybody involved. And we can't do that if you aren't taking care of yourself. Feeling warm, starting to overheat, seek shade, take your breaks, take a comfort stop. It doesn't matter how much management monitors the scanners. They're going to tell you that you were stationary here, 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 and here. And your proof is just a scanner? Well, you have no actual proof. Then
I would say if it's that bad, send them a message to the scanner.
Yeah. If you
saying, I'm feeling overheated, I need to stop.
Yes. And if you stop sweating, call 911.
911. Yep.
Because that means your body has overheated to the point it can no longer produce sweat. It's giving up, and you need to get to a hospital. Call 911 first before you contact management. After you're done with 911, then you contact management, or have the police contact 911 when they show, or contact your manager when they show up on scene. The police will stay there and secure the mail until your management arrives, but your health is more important. So take care of yourselves, get home to your loved ones, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Thanks for listening.